Good morning all. So let us start a new topic for today's class is psychosocial aspects of workplace analysis. Again we discussed physical ergonomics, we discussed cognitive ergonomics. Now when we are talking about psychosocial aspects, it's very important because when we are at workplace we are not individual, right? So we are working in a place where there are different people, different person, and we are interacting with them, we are interacting within us, right? And then we are actually performing. So understanding the psychology of that particular work with in association with the social context, when we are talking about ergonomics principle and the behavior of those workers, then it becomes a broader field where people can understand more about the performance of that particular operator, working capacity or capability, and the kind of productivity we are talking about. So psychosocial aspect is very important component when we talk about ergonomics. So let us understand what are the psychosocial risk factors are. So psychosocial factors arise from poor work design, organization and management. So if these things are there, then definitely you will get a risk. Also poor social context. So work design, organization and management and social context, if these all things are poor, then you may have a psychosocial risk, okay, which has a big negative impact on your physical capacity, capability as well as mental health. Okay. So we are going to discuss about these few things today. So these negative psychological, physical and social outcome has effect on the work related stress. Especially it creates depression, reduced motivation and finally it affect the output. So these things can be two type. One is personal, another is organizational. If we are talking about personal factors, maybe anxiety, depression are the results, whereas we are talking about organizational factor, causes may be excessive workload, conflicting work demand, lack of role clarity, lack of control over the job, poorly managed organizational change, job insecurity, many other things, low salary and all those things, right? So these are some organizational factors which really can affect your performance. So how these personal and organizational factors actually is associated with the productivity and performance of that particular worker or operator and their own personal health, especially musculoskeletal system, sometimes digestive system, sometimes the neural system. So we are going to discuss that today. So it is an established fact, like already there are varieties of studies available which says that psychosocial factors plays an important role in the development of work related MST. Okay. So the detailed relationship has been established for both personal and workplace factor, and the effects of the psychosocial factors have been observed mostly in the case of neck, shoulder and low back mainly. But if we talk about the psychosocial stress or psychosocial risk factors, it has most strongest relation with your neck pain. Now if you are currently working and really the kind of work space or workplace you have at your organization, or you have seen people where the workplace factor has an impact, try to correlate or try to visualize those symptoms or features with this particular concept. So, if we are talking about high amount of psychosocial risk, you will get lot of neck related issue. So, that is already an established fact, nothing to establish over here. So, there are different causal pathway models have been developed, and they have established it how those impacts are there on the development of the different effects like neck pain, back pain or shoulder pain, mainly neck pain. Okay. So, I'll just explain one or two models. So, it was described particularly in the context of cardiovascular disorder in occupational setting. So, it is a demand control support model. Okay. So, by terminology itself you do understand you have demand, you have control, you have support, and how these three factors is associated or related in a particular context, and how those has an impact on the development of the cardiovascular disorders. So, these three factors least control over are actually least control over job, highest demand and least amount of support. If these type of situation arise, it results in highest level of risk from the workplace. So, a similarly impressive relationship can be established with cardiovascular disorder, but it has not been established the way it has been established for the other factors. So, the reasons are less number of studies available. So, you have a scope to do different studies over there, of course in Indian context maybe, or occupational specific occupation, maybe all occupation or all kind of workplace are not reacting the same way or same intensity how the others are. Okay. So, let us understand this particular demand control support model. So, if we are talking about three dimension, so one is control, another is y axis demand and z axis is the support. Then if you are in this particular segment, you have low risk. Okay. So, low demand, high control, demand is less, control is very high, you have support as well. So, you have low risk. Just on the opposite side where demand is very high. So, your boss is saying yes, you have to do this, you have to do that, and all these demands are there, but over that you do not have much control, you do not have much support on that particular job, then you are at very high risk. But these two components where all are in moderate condition, maybe like control is less, demand is also less. So, you do not have much problem, right. Here you have high control, high support, high demand. Okay. So, there also you can manage the work. So, risky zone is very much this particular zone is very risky. So, when you talk about understanding your working setup or variable available within that, you need to understand where you are located. So, are you in this particular portion or here or here or here. So, if you understand that, then based on that situation you need to develop the intervention, like maybe it is a product, maybe it is a system, maybe it is just the information processing, like how the information is passing from one to another. So, how it is learned, how the position of the layout of that particular location, how if you can do those changes, probably there will be changes within that particular model. Right. So, this is the very important model we normally use in the field of psychophysiology. Of course, this is a published paper, you can read this particular paper and then get more information. So, another model is conceptual model. So, this particular conceptual model, it says that a mismatch between the high cost spent and low gains received in occupational life. Very easy to understand. When you are spending so much in terms of energy, in terms of your effort, in terms of your in terms of your maybe money, whatever. So if you are spending lot of thing but you are gaining back very less, then if there is a mismatch, then of course there will be a stress or there will be a problem in the occupational life, which can lead to physical and psychosocial disorders. Okay. So however, it may be related to the fact that the psychosocial stress may lead to physical changes through neuroendocrine responses. Of course, it is very, very important when you have some kind of physical changes and you have lot of stress, mental stress or lot of other issues, then your whole endocrine system, like your enzyme, your other secretion of your body, hormonal secretion of your body will change, right? So which in turn will affect your physical health. So that is very much relevant, and of course you can see these phenomena in your real life, but you must have not quantified it or you must have not analyzed it in terms of intervention, or you must have not realized that how to control those causal factors. So if you can do that root cause analysis, of course you can develop an intervention program which will be very, very successful. So understanding these pathway are very, very important. So of course there is an effect of biological stress on the musculoskeletal system. So this is one more model that says the effect of biological effects of stress on the musculoskeletal system. What it says? It says that psychological stress and musculoskeletal systems feedback relationship. So if you have psychology, the same way like the first slide when I was trying to explain, it is an established fact. If you have lot of mental stress or psychological state, you can see lot of neck trouble, lot of shoulder trouble, lot of back trouble, right? So it's again it's a musculoskeletal disorder. So according to this particular model, that psychosocial factors, maybe job control, job clarity or whatever, so influences the biomechanical loads through enhancement or reduction of tolerance. So when the tolerance level changes, the effect will be there on your musculoskeletal system. So in this in turn actually affect the biomechanical factors of that particular person, and of course there are changes in the cortisol level or muscle tension, and the effect may be the development of musculoskeletal disorder. So this feedback system has lot of impact, and of course you can do very small changes in the whole workplace situation and you can improve the musculoskeletal health. So this is very important. So this is the kind of diagrammatic representation of this particular model. Again, this is, you can read this whole paper from this particular journal. So I have given the references later. So you have biomechanical load which can impact your tolerance level. If it is increased or exceeds, if it is decreased or exceed, ultimately it will impact your tissue responses. Now here you have psychosocial load which has impact on hormones and muscle tension, which again in turn has effect on the tissue responses. So when you have all this, finally it is going to affect on the work related MSD. Now if you know all these things, let us understand how it is happening. It is happening from indirect effect, that is the psychosocial load, maybe job control, job demand or many other factors, or from the biomechanical load like awkward posture, very high lifting or many other things. So indirect and some biomechanical aspects will be there, and then finally impact will be here as the work related musculoskeletal disorder. So maybe when we start evaluating that particular workplace, we may see the response here work related musculoskeletal disorder. So maybe at a particular workplace 10 persons are there, 10 operators are there, and you have seen 7 out of 10 are saying I have neck pain, I have back pain or something like that. Now you may say this is purely a physical responses, but really not. It's our physical responses, but what the cause is. So if you go back and check that this particular route, like here going back to here, then you will come to know if we can control the job, if we can control the demand of the job, or if we can give better support to do the job, maybe here there will be a reduction in the musculoskeletal disorder. Same way over here for the biomechanical load. Okay, so understanding that is very important, and it's very critical. It's not that easy to find out that particular path when you are actually doing field study or field observation. So it is very important. Now there is one more important factor, that is the organizational factors and motivation. So organizational factors influence the motivation of any particular employee. So mental state can work with aggravation of physical ailments, or it can more directly affect through psychological process. So if there is negative psychosocial state of particular organization, then it can directly affect the motivation of the worker. So whenever you found any responses regarding negative impact on motivation, you should go back and relook how it is happening. Is it related to any kind of organizational factors or not? So that way you can do lot of intervention in terms of reward, payment, respect, or many other factors. Mainly these things are being studied in the field of, in various sociological papers as well. Okay, but of course when we are talking about productivity and how these factors are related, we are talking about and intervention, we are talking about ergonomics. Now when we understand all these things, let us understand how we are going to evaluate it, because the course objective is evaluation or analyzing the ergonomic workplace. So in the workplace, how we are going to evaluate it. So there are varieties of process. So I will be discussing few of them. Let us understand how we can assess the psychosocial environment. So we have stress arousal checklist, we have job stress questionnaire, we have work style questionnaire, we have NIOSH generic job stress questionnaire. These 4 are mainly used, but these are not only 4. Apart from that, we have many others. Okay, so based on your own context, you can use either any one of them or whatever available relevant to your context, or you can develop something very new for your requirement and then you can validate it. Okay. So let us understand what this particular stress arousal checklist says. It has total 45 adjective. It is being developed in 1978. So it's a very old set of checklist. So it asks to give the rating all these 4 adjectives into 4-point scale. Finally, it developed from this activation deactivation checklist. So this is the source, from there they have developed this particular checklist. So you can use this for your context, or if it matches to your context. Another is job stress questionnaire. Again, Kaplan developed it in 1975, quite old. So it has 13 items. It's basically a kind of questionnaire, and 4-dimensional P-fit model is available in this particular job stress questionnaire. So these 4 dimensions are: one is workload, second is role conflict, role ambiguity, and utilization of your skill. Now if you see these terminologies, so I am not going into detailing of this particular questionnaire. So if you have this questionnaire, you can collect it and you can use and try to understand these variables. So if you talk about workload, Now if the kind of workload is there, if it is quite high, of course it has a negative impact on your productivity or on your physical health. If you have role conflict, you are not in a position to understand that what you should do, what you should not do, what others should do and what others should not do. If this type of conflicts are there, then of course there will be an impact on your productivity. Same as utilization of skill and role ambiguity. So if you are a very highly skilled person and the job says no, you need not to use that much skill, maybe then you will get demotivated, right? So those aspects are very, very important. So how to place employee and how to judge that which work is reasonable for whom and how these setup need to be, how the job rotation is important for particular setup. So these things are very important when we talk about these aspects, like using job stress questionnaire. Okay, so that is one of the important rule. Also job stress questionnaire says that this particular workload item, there are varieties of items. So it talks about finally how that person is getting motivation, how this person, that particular operator is activated or utilizing his or her full capacity to develop that to work in that particular location or particular position of their work. So that we get these four says that different utilization of those concepts. Now same as for the NIOSH generic job stress questionnaire, as NIOSH is body which actually contributing a lot from the beginning or starting of this particular subject ergonomics, right? So they also have developed one particular questionnaire. So here in this particular questionnaire, the scoring parameters that we will be sent here, also 13 job stressors are going to measure. So these are listed over here. So physical environment evaluation, role conflict, role ambiguity, all these things. So name wise, nomenclature wise is very similar, but it has different components, and based on the questionnaire responses we club them and try to understand these variables. So these 13 factors actually we use it for the as variables when we are talking about the measurement and analyzing these particular data. So we developed it, we categorized it, we collected the data. Now let us understand how we are going to utilize it, how the interventions are possible. Maybe we can do a task design, we can do a job control, we can support the system, we can work on payment or reward, and maybe worker skill. So lot of thing is possible when we are talking about this psychosocial intervention. So we came to the end of this particular class. Again, this is the book what I referred to develop this whole presentation, and I followed basically. So you can refer this book as well as other very specific group book which talks about psychosocial stress or psychosocial risk factors for ergonomics. So what will be the task for today is, now you try to understand these questionnaires and use at least one of them to gather few data from either from your organization if you are working. If you are a student, purely academic student, then try to go and get value or data from any kind of organization which is feasible to you, and try to analyze it, and after analyzing try to understand what kind of intervention is possible or what kind of intervention can improve the whole situation. So that way you can practice it and then you can implement it. Okay. So further again the same thing, that if you have query, please come back and let us know. Thank you.